All right. She is an actress, a writer, director, editor, producer, and composer, model, and more. She began pursuing acting during her college years at the University of Chicago, taking classes at various studios and working on short films. Through her work on both sides of the camera, she continues to be a student of the craft, graduating from the Conservatory of the Second City and recently studying at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. She plays the librarian in Nia DaCosta's recently released Candyman, the role that brings us here today. Thank you very much, Cassie, for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, let's jump right into it. The bio on your website describes you as a lifelong athlete, which really threw me for a loop. I'm going to tell you, I've watched so many college performances of like the student athlete. So I want to ask you this. Listen, when you switched pursuits to acting during your college years, was there something in particular that made you take that switch and inspired you?
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a little too earnest for what I've seen from like what your shows typically are. But so yeah, I was really big into sports. My dad is a big athlete, and I got cancer my senior year of high school. And then when I finally did go to college and I was like playing tennis, I wasn't as good as I was prior to getting sick. And I also, having gone through that obviously life-changing experience at such a young age, I kind of realized like, oh my God, I was so repressed. Like I never cried. I was a super like even keeled, trying to make sure everyone's happy, people pleaser type of person. And I just realized like, oh, I need to really tap into my emotions and like deal with my stuff. A friend suggested that I take an acting class, and I found it was really helpful for me just on a personal and spiritual level. Like it really wasn't a career thing at first. It was just very cathartic, and it felt like a safe place to express emotion where it was welcome, where it wasn't going to offend anyone. And yeah, that's kind of why I switched.
There's one particular guest I can think of, Escalante from Django Unchained, and he said, "You two are the only people we've ever talked to that have said the same thing. They didn't seek out acting. Acting was a sense of therapy for them." And I cannot relate for that because I love acting, and I knew I was always meant to do it. But the thing is that that's one thing most people don't talk about, and he can understand where I'm coming from. If you're in a place of not just saying depression or a place of trying to find yourself, and no matter what the avenue is, you want to go down that path. And I'm happy that you found acting and clearly it's accepted you.
Well, that's still up in the air, I think.
I loved your TikTok about what not to say to people who have cancer. That was such like a unique approach to, because usually like you don't really get like people are always so fluffy about that subject. Like, you know, they come at it with this ultra sensitivity. It was refreshing to see yourself who had went through that, like putting it out there that way so bluntly for people. I made sure to watch that before I did your interview. That way I'm like, all right. And then I ended up not even bringing it up because I didn't want, like, I feel like that would have been so predictable. Like, oh, please tell us about your experience. Like, it must get so, and I didn't even realize that it was a catalyst in your decision to go into acting. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, like I have had cancer twice, so it's, you know, like it was a catalyst to that, and then it has since become now like more material. I just mine my life for material constantly, so that TikTok was more based on the second time, because the first time I was very like, I don't know if you've talked to a lot of cancer survivors. A lot of times you're like, oh, like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was this huge lesson. I realized all the people that I value in my life, blah, blah, blah. And then the second time you get it, you're like, wait, hold on. Like, I got the lesson. What's going on? Why is this?
One of the guys, Travis Kleiber, that helped on our last movie, and I say help, he did pretty much everything that was needed. It's like 3 or 4 times he's been back to the hospital to like the war is ongoing with him. Like he keeps going back. I think he was in remission when we were shooting, and it's just, that was the first person that I met that I could speak to candidly about the experience. And it's just it was interesting to me what it does to like the way I worry about going, about stupid little things. Like I'm paranoid about things that could bring harm to me. I noticed that it changed his perspective on like yes, life is like hanging by a thread, but it's like that for everybody. Like you could walk outside and get hit by a car, and he's just like I don't know how I would be so I am fixated on mortality, even like someone that's never had to face it in that way. And I think that was the biggest thing for me with him was like, how do you like that must be so exhausting to have to come to terms to that extent with mortality, and like how do you come away from that? Like how does that change you as a person? He's one of the coolest guys we know. Like you live for today.
I know that for some cancer patients, it's very much like they fully buy into the like war analogy, and that's how they decide to view it. It personally, especially now, really rubs me the wrong way in terms of, and this is not to disparage anything you said. It's like in the zeitgeist, like everyone says it. It's like how people view cancer. I mean, if you don't see a cancer commercial and there's not somebody shaving their head in the beginning of it and having this emotional moment and then fighting, like they have all these women boxing for breast cancer. Like, anyway, for me, it's very much not a battle, and it's sort of like a surrendering and breaking open. And I think that's basically what life is. So I think it's almost like life in a microcosm, and you get to experience it more fully during that time. But I just have to say, for the people out there who are like me, who fucking hate the battle metaphor, I see you, I hear you, and I'm on your side because I feel like it's played out. Like I feel like we need to somehow.
It shouldn't be commercialized. It shouldn't be it's not like you just said. There's no it's this for cancer, that for like no. Listen, everybody's dealt their cards. Live your life and do the best you can with it. You're no better than someone that has AIDS or depression. Like you just say, you don't want what you're dealing with to be commercialized. Like, listen, let's fucking fight and deal with it ourselves. I like that. I like that.
I can't remember what comedian it was, but it was such a good point. You're like using that analogy is also to insinuate that somebody has lost the fight. And
yes, that's my biggest issue with it, is that like I know so many people who have passed away, and they in no way were weaker than me on any level, like in any realm of life. And that is what upsets me so much, because there's like even little boys I met the second time, like in the irradiation room, like you find out all these stories and you're like, that person, I don't know. I feel like it.
Well, and Norm Macdonald said it. I love what he said. He was like, rest in peace.
Correct. Recently, rest in peace. Yes.
He said, what nobody really, when
the
you
draw,
lose the fight,
right?
Yeah. It's like, because when you die, you kill the cancer too. So at the end of the day,
boom. You know what I was going to say?
I think draw.
Draw. Now, I think both of you framed that perfectly, but let me ask you this. What if we talk about framework in 2009?
You tried to do that segue.
But no, she didn't see that. You saw that. So now it's not a segue.
I wasn't ready to move on yet.
Neither was I.
All right. So, yes. In 2009, you started your first film. It was Framework, written and directed by Joseph Campanella. Being your first experience, and I'm assuming your first experience on a production, what was your biggest lesson learned there?
Man, everything. I think I was in college and we were trying to figure out how to shoot that with I think the biggest things I learned were that things that you look at in a movie that look like they take 2 seconds take like 3 days every time. Like I didn't realize how long everything takes. And we kept shooting that on like any day all of us would have off over I feel like a year or a year and a half. It was a long time. But yeah, I think the amount of time that it took and everyone's obsession with, I didn't study film as much at that time. So I didn't know, he kept being like, oh, we got to have a shot of an insert shot of you setting the glass down and breaking the ice. And how there are all these directors that everyone's trying to emulate. And I was just like, why? Let's just have the drink and move on.
Yeah. We were just talking about that yesterday because we shot a music video yesterday, and there was a whole bunch of people involved in the production that have never been in front of a camera before. And we were talking about how funny it is. That's one of our favorite things, is to see that moment of realization on a newbie's face when they, after take one, they think, okay, we're done. No, a 3-minute video takes longer than 3 minutes to shoot. And when you see that come upon them, they're like, oh shit, so we're going to be here all day.
It's funny you say that, because we did have that conversation, and you're correct. That's the difference between someone saying, I want to be an actor and I'm going to be an actor. And speaking of that, I want to talk about the difference between an independent production and actually being on a big movie set, because in 2012, the pilot episode of Chicago Fire, you are in that. So what is it like to go from, okay, now I'm just doing this, hey, this, that, and the other. Now there's cameras everywhere, there's expectations, there's call times. What is the experience like? Talk to that young lady that's an actress that has no idea. Tell her what it's like.
I feel like this one was the first in many, many not great experience. Well, like I was cut out of that part. And I remember like I auditioned and I felt like it went well, but it wasn't really clear. I think they were kind of scrambling because it was a pilot reshoot and it was a small part. And my scene was with Taylor Kinney and we had to make out. It was my first on-screen kiss. And I had to I wasn't aware of any of this till I got to set. They're like, cool, this is your nudity contract clause thing. Like, I was just like, what? And I had to wear just pasties and nude underwear. So this is my first experience in TV, like a big production TV job. And we're in this apartment in Chicago and there was no AC. And so I had to go up and down the stairs for like every entrance of the scene. And then like, he picks me up, he spins me around, he throws me on the couch. It's like this whole choreographed thing. And I was like sweating my pasties off again and again. I was like dripping sweat all over him. Like, it was just miserable. I was so uncomfortable. And then they cut it out. So it was kind of like, cool, awesome. Thanks for that. But yeah, I guess that would be my biggest like bit of advice for an actor entering in that is just like, know if you're a co-star, you're probably gonna get cut out. Find out what's going on beforehand in terms of nudity, like if nobody tells you, because that's really stressful on the day.
We talked to Lisa Gorlitsky, and she was
187 and Lean on Me.
No, you're talking about Karina Ariabe.
Oh, that's a different story.
Yeah. Lisa Gorlitsky was talking about she played in Silk Stockings, in an episode of Silk Stockings, and she had this great story about being like your own advocate on set and how it's so hard to do that when you're first getting started, because you're like, you don't want to step on any toes, or you don't want to be the person that's like gains reputation of having a problem with something or saying no. She said once, but you have to. Correct. And then and sometimes it takes a little while to understand that you're not going to like get shunned because you speak up for yourself. Did you have that, like, was there any like reservations when you get this nudity clause and you're seeing what exactly this is going to entail? And do you have like an internal thing going on at all where?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said just could not resonate with me more deeply. I don't know who that person is, but yeah, fully same page. And she probably learned how to advocate for herself before me. I feel like it has taken me almost dying twice, making my own films. Like, I feel like just in the last couple of years, I'm like, okay, if I say something, I'm not going to get like shunned from society. Like, I'm very much a people pleaser, and I worry about, being liked and all that stuff. And I'm finally getting over it. It's just taken a very long time.
Yeah, it's one of the most liberating feelings.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and with respect to the nudity thing, like, I remember I was worried, but then I was like, oh, this is network television. Like, they can't actually show anything. So It's probably fine.
There would have been the thought in the back of my head, like, so is this just for the director?
Right. At a certain point, yeah.
It's not, it can't go on television. So
I'll say this really quickly. And I have a daughter. She's an actress. And my thing is this: I've always taught her just to be the best actress she can be, the best artist she can be. And I feel exactly where you're coming from. You didn't sign up for that. Like you say, you did all of that and it's on the cutting room floor, but it's still in somebody's SD card. Somebody's like, wait a minute. No, if we're not actually going to do it, let's not do it. But I feel where you're coming from. You have to stand your ground. And
also like the whole concept of a closed set where they'll be like, oh, don't worry, it's a closed set. It's just going to be like essential people. And then it's like 75 dudes. And you're like,
craft services. Everybody's on craft services that day. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Hopefully that's a little bit different now with the pandemic situation. A closed set might actually be closed.
Yeah, for sure.
So that scene was cut, but you go on to appear in an episode of Chicago PD in 2016, as well as return to Chicago Fire in last year in 2020. And on your Instagram, I love Elias Cotillas, and I hope I'm not butchering his name. I'll just call him.
I was hoping you would say it because I don't actually know.
I usually just call him Casey Jones, or that creepy dude from Fallen that sings "Time Is on My Side." Anyway, I love him, even though I don't know the correct pronunciation of his name. And you mentioned on Instagram that he was a pleasure to work with to some degree or another. I don't remember how exactly you worded it. I know, like, a lot of the people we talk to have those parts like NCIS, or those walk-on roles where you're coming into an established family essentially, and they talk about how it could be really intimidating and sometimes difficult to integrate yourself into this. Like, it's like jumping on a moving train and then you have to jump off again, and everybody else is already on it and established with each other. So it's cool to see that you had a good experience with him. And I was wondering if there was anything you could share about that.
Yeah, I'll share the good first. So he, and everything with respect to him is good, by the way. I had just finished cancer treatment right before I shot that. Like, I think I got back into, like, 3 days after I got back in town from treatment, I got a call to audition for that. And I remember I had just gone through 6 months of just isolation, not seeing anyone, dealing with a whole, my mortality, just existential crisis in general. And then it was like, cool, audition for this cancer patient. And I was like, oh, is this bad karma? Like, I don't know. So anyway, when I eventually, I booked it and I got to set, and I was obviously very overwhelmed by the whole thing and the subject matter. And I remember my voice was shaking. I remember just being a little, when you're not that experienced, things happen. And especially when you're in such a vulnerable state. And I remember he would we had our hands on the table, and he would kind of put his hand on top of my hand between takes and be like, you're doing great. Everything's okay. You're there. You got it. And it just made me feel so much safer, because it was just, I was in a vulnerable state, and he could see that. And you could just tell, I don't know, he could just tell he's a really good soul. And he's one of those people. I feel like some people just get way too big for their britches, and he has so many credits. He's probably one of the most impressive people on that show. And he just didn't, he was humble, he was kind, and he was just a regular, nice guy, which awesome. I like.
I love hearing that. So the bad side, give us.
I just feel like you have to say these things, because I feel like people think this industry isn't what it is. So I think, anyway, I had this big monologue in that episode. And as I said, I had just gone through this big cancer experience. I think they knew that. It was just, it was an emotional and vulnerable thing for me. And then seeing that they cut my monologue, which was probably 2 pages, and gave it and distributed it, reshot it and distributed it among probably 4 to 5 other people. And then they didn't cut me completely, but they kept one line of what was all my monologue. So it's just, I just want actors to know that even when it's so personal to you and it feels like it's meant to be, you're still probably going to get cut.
How many actors, writers, directors, and cinematographers have we talked to since we started this show that said the exact same thing that she said? It's not personal. Literally.
I'm sitting next to somebody that was cut out of my movie.
Don't get me started.
Oh,
it's because there is the other side. You're right. It's not it doesn't matter how personal it is to you. Once it gets into post, it's all about what is going to make this flow. And there's so many things that go into that, decision making, how is this going to work going into the next scene from the last scene? You can't really take it personal once it goes into post-production, because it's all about, but then, from your side, it's I was exhausted. I was vulnerable. I did this monologue so many times. I spent so much work. I spent so many nights memorizing this and getting it down, and it's not even there. It's they don't even care.
Well, no one understands that more than her, though. But go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's also a lot to do, especially on those network shows and procedurals. It's if you show one character for too long, that's not a series regular, I think it sometimes confuses the audience. Like, oh, who is this person? Are they a new person on the show? Like, and I think they're very careful about that. Like they don't want to have anybody on camera for too long. They don't want anyone to detract from the leads or the series regulars. Like I think that that's very much a focus.
I could see how it would be frustrating though, because you're like, didn't you know this before you had me do this
They
20
did.
times?
They did. I can promise you they did. And what I was going to say is no one knows this more than you, because you heard me bring up bimbo earlier. And the reason why I brought it up is because I called you a golf course actress. What I mean by that is when you go on a golf course, you don't take one club because you're never going to be successful. You literally direct it, edit it, act it. You like, he knows it, I know it, and you know it. So there's only a few select people in this world who know what it's like to do that. So talk to us about the experience. I don't want to know. The question is, what made you create it? What I want to know is, what made you say, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do all this myself, and if it fails, I'm going to be the reason why.
Well, I think having those experiences of getting cut a lot and not having creative control start to wear on you at a certain point, and it's like, wait, I have a lot more to contribute to this world than, you know, a couple lines here and there. And my friend that did that with me, her name's Alex Fisher. We met at Second City in the conservatory, and she's hilarious. And we were like, oh, let's just start shooting these ideas, like bits that we couldn't get on stage. We're like, let's shoot it then. And so, yeah, that's kind of why we started. And then we found a camera guy, and we just guerrilla shot everything. We did our own sound. Like,
I'm sorry for our film students out there, because you're one of the few people that have mentioned this. What is guerrilla shooting? Please tell them.
So it's like, you don't have permits. Like if you shoot outside, if you shoot outside in Chicago, you're supposed to have a permit. And so you just kind of like, if you get yelled at or if the cops come, your day's over. You gotta move somewhere else.
Someone knows about it. Someone got the cops called on him a few years ago. I'm talking about you. When the cops showed up when you shot the scene without any permit, and there were like helicopters coming and people. Oh yeah, that.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the fact that we didn't have a permit. Yeah, we cost the city a little bit of money. It was great. It was great behind the scenes though footage. We were doing it wasn't the not having a permit that brought them out there. It was we were shooting a scene. I was playing a detective. I'm an overzealous detective, and I am arresting a jaywalker at gunpoint. So we did that on the side of Phillips Highway, and I didn't think anything of it. And then next thing you know, there's helicopters swarming. They were making sure that we weren't going anywhere. And then the cops showed up, and they were like, "Are you stupid? Do you realize that if one of us were driving by and saw this actually happening, you would have been shot first and then questions asked? Like, you were holding somebody at gunpoint on the side of the sidewalk on Phillips Highway."
Oh, don't feel bad, because in fairness, 10 years later, he decided to film Selma, which a female lay dead on the side of the road, which cops still showed up. So he hasn't learned his lesson. It's okay.
It all went back to like 2002. We've shot like downtown.
You keep saying we. I was not with you then. Stop making her seem like we've been doing this. I've never been a part of it.
We stole a Camaro, and we got pulled over like 10 minutes later because they thought that we were really stealing it. And the kicker is, they looked up the VIN number on the Camaro, and it was actually it was a hot car. So they did not believe us. So they're like, no, this isn't. So then they had to trace it back to the dealership, find out that the dealership was selling hot cars. We just happened to, we blew the lid off the whole thing by staging a theft of an already stolen car. You
missed your calling. Yeah. I wanted to ask this. Listen, I did want to ask this. Okay, so we were talking about bimbo, and you're creating your own experience and wearing so many hats. Let me ask you this. What is the negative side of wearing all those hats? Because I know it, having to literally take care of 30 people in the mall, depending on you. And then what is the positive side of creating your own series? Talk to us about that.
For me, having creative control outweighs any additional responsibilities I have. So what's difficult for me is getting everyone's schedule aligned. It's like the more people I have, the more I feel overwhelmed, because I feel like locations I can usually secure, but like getting a sound person in Chicago is so hard. And then getting a sound person that's available at the same time that everyone else is available. And to me, I've learned the hard way that sound is like everything.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know, it obviously takes up more time, but once you get it out there, you feel like it's actually your work and your creation, and not, you don't feel like, oh, why'd they choose that take, or I don't like that transition or that edit or whatever.
And Bimbo was a full series, right? You did a whole season of that?
Yeah, it was. They weren't really connected. Like we kind of had different characters, but it was always the two of us for each episode. But we had a totally different concept for each episode.
Is that available anywhere where people can check it out?
Oh yeah, I think it's still on YouTube.
Okay.
I would say probably the most popular one was we did it was actually, I was the only one in that, but I wrote a parody of those Viagra commercials that were very popular at the time. That was like with that British lady, and I just thought it was so absurd.
Hi there. I'm a wildly age inappropriate woman here to talk to you about your penis.
So yeah, that one got a lot of views, and then I'd say the cinematography and like the quality of the production was best in the one that's called Badger that we did later. Like we kind of, as we learned, we got a little better.
Just need to get my coat.
We are going to a Spanish restaurant in Abu Dhabi.
It's a style thing because people say that I look like Claire Danes, and I want to look like her in Homeland. She looks good in that.
I don't feel comfortable. Can you take that off for
Okay,
dinner?
you know what? Gloves are off. I am in the witness protection program.
Oh my God.
This is not one of the questions that he sent you, but I just want to know from you. Let me ask you this. Did you learn a certain respect for the craft after having to do everything yourself? Because I know for me, I always just wanted to act. I was born to act, and I would be fine dying just being an actor. But the moment I had to edit my first film, I was like, oh shit, I should probably stop giving the editor shit.
Oh yeah. Even just like making a call sheet takes so much time. It's like, yeah, I think once you do all the jobs, you have a lot more. And craft services, like, I remember for one of our sketches, I got donuts for everyone. I was so excited because I got up early and I got everyone coffee, and then no one ate the freaking donuts because everyone wanted to be healthy, and I didn't realize that was going to happen. I was like, you guys, I got donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's just all of it. You don't realize how personally you take every single job until you're doing the job, and you're like, oh, that kind of hurts my feelings that, you're not enjoying this thing that I did, or this.
Well, it's even on set with the people that are working on it, nobody is doing as much as you are, or letting it like become them essentially while you're working on it. So it's at least for me personally, it's really hard not to be ultra sensitive when when everybody doesn't immediately just like fall into what's happening and embrace it, or there's questions like, you don't understand. I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning putting these shots together. Just look at the paper that I'm tired right now because I was putting these shots together till 4 o'clock in the morning. Why are you asking me what the shot is? What did I stay up last night for?
Yeah. Or like, you know how you can use that, I forgot it, something book where it shows when people open the call sheet or open the shot list. And then, so who didn't even look at it when you spent all that time making it.
This guy over here.
Hey, I don't read the script. Script reads me. Go to fucking next question. I don't read the fucking script. All right, I'm a fucking professional. Now, the reason you are here, other than being an awesome person who's awesome.
Oh, hold on, before we get into Candyman, I have one more question because we love connections here, and I didn't tell you this, but on her Instagram, the very first post on the deepest dive of her Instagram is just a shot of a bee.
Oh, yeah. So this is serendipitous.
Yeah, and then it goes into, there was another, in 2020, you worked with Oscar-nominated director John Hancock on The Girls of Summer. He also directed a number of segments on The Twilight Zone, which Jordan Peele remade, bringing us right back to Candyman again. I say all that to say, well, that'll lead us into Candyman, but what was it like working with John Hancock? It
was great. I actually had I was supposed to have a bigger part in that movie, and then they lost funding, so they couldn't afford SAG actors. But it was really nice. I met him doing a friend's directing class at Second City, and then he had me audition, and he actually reached out to me about being in that movie, and then the cinematography in that was beautiful. But I only worked with him for probably a day, but he's emailed me a couple times in the last couple months, and he indicates that he wants to work together, but I don't know what he's working on.
I know how taxing a film production can be, and I think he's like in his early 80s. How does that like? How's
You can't even get it out.
I know how I feel after a day of production. I feel like an 80-year-old man, like at the end.
Yeah, I think he felt it. I will say that of the day that I was there, I was like, damn, this is a lot for.
But here's the thing. I harken back to what someone told me a long time ago. If you're doing what you love, it'll never be work. You may be tired, but it's never work. And speaking of that, I want to ask you about this. You mentioned earlier about, on a lighter note, of course, the R-rated version was you doing sweating out of your pasties, doing all these scenes and them being cut. Right. But with that being said, the PG-13 version of that is something we talk to a lot of guests about is CRF. The cutting room floor. And I wanted to ask you about that. Now, you're credited as the librarian in this film, but we do our research here at TTFT. And of course, we are both children of the 80s and we saw the original Candyman. And we know now, granted, there's another 3 letters I like to say NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So don't say what you can't say, but I'm going to tell you what I researched. I researched that there was a little bit of mold being made and maybe it was someone you were supposed to be that you weren't. Can you talk on that?
I mean, your girl is not trying to get sued.
So don't get sued, please.
I can't really, or I think they would prefer that I not say anything really. But I think there is information that is, Googleable that is may or may not be speculative. But I did, I really got.
I'll say what you're not going to say. That what we do know is there's a lot of times, as you mentioned before, the idea doesn't always meet it to what's going to actually be shown in the theaters. And there is a lot of actors and actresses out there who've done things that don't get shown that are great. And I want to tell you that what I didn't see, I think would have been great.
I think I just will say the way it turned out, I think is exactly how it was meant to. I think the plot is already complicated enough. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you would have added another element, it would have been probably too much for an audience. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Like No Country for Old Men. Go ahead.
No. Yeah.
So did I, just not the ending.
Oh, yeah, true.
Thank you.
The meaning of the film, I don't know if have you guys both seen Candyman?
We have both.
Okay, cool. Well, to me, the message from like what you take out of it is so much more important and bigger than people who are upset about not reprising original roles or whatever. Like I think it's just so beautiful and so well done.
Yeah. It's one of the most effective social thrillers. I mean, I think the last great social thriller to come out that is on that level is like Get Out. Correct.
I 100% concur. I mean, and there's here's the thing. You said it more. I hate sequels, but this wasn't a sequel to me, it was a remake, and I really hate remakes. But if you're gonna do it, put the message in there. But you called me yesterday and what did you tell me? Put the message in there, but not at expense of the artistry of the film. And I think that's exactly what happened. At the expense
of the story. And they did it. Yeah, it was a good. Joker did a good job. That was a good.
I love Joker. I love Joker too.
I also just want to give you props for finding the B in my first Instagram post and then tying that to John Hancock and then tying that to Jordan Peele. That was impressive. So
I felt slightly, because everybody always talks about don't be the weird guy that comment. Yeah, and when you actually said that, I was like, oh no, let me clarify what's happening here.
No, I knew. I was just damn funny.
With the mold, I noticed on your Instagram there's a few shots of you and J. Anthony Kozar, who did who worked with you on the molds for Candyman. Is there anything you can speak on as far as that goes? Like not the effects themselves, but just what it was like working with that team?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the huge highlights for me working on that film. I got really close with Anthony and Anna Callie, who also works with him, and Claire Ramsey. She's from Ireland and she's adorable and has the cutest accent. She calls everything like a wee break, it's adorable.
Aye.
So she was often doing my makeup because Anthony and Anna often were focusing on Yaya, but yeah, he and I have become really close. We just went to dinner the other night. I recently worked on a film. His sister is a director, and I just worked on a Christmas movie with her, and he came to set. He actually has a cameo in the movie as like an FBI agent. He doesn't speak, but it was so cool. I love their whole family. I love him. His dad works at the studio with him. I've met his mom. I've met his grandma. I've met everybody, and they're all awesome.
And you guys, did you guys go see the movie together when it came out? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we actually went. They had this Candyman experience downtown that we tried to go to, but it got rained out. So we all just like stood around and went and got a drink. But yeah, we went to see. They had a Chicago screening at the Music Box, which is a really cool theater here. Monkey Paw hosted it, and so we all went to see it together. And it was he's such an awesome person, and he's booking everything in Chicago. I mean, like if there are practical effects and special effects, like he's doing it pretty much.
Earlier I asked you a question about if you could give if you can give advice to actresses out there and what they should expect. So now I want to talk about expectation versus reality, because here's the reality of it. Production took place, and if I'm not mistaken, between August and October around 2019, and then of course there were some pickup shots. How long were you on set for? And because here's the thing, I saw the film and I know how long you were in there. When people say, "Oh, I want to be an actor," and you're on set all this time and you bring all your friends and family to this movie and you're there for less than 30 seconds, they're like, what the fuck? So could you talk to us about how long you were on set and the experience?
Well, in the capacity of the librarian, I was only on set for one day, and we shot that in the reshoots. For the other part that isn't in there, I was on set for I think 6 days, maybe. The makeup took 4 hours to apply, and then 4 to 5, I would say, and then like 3. Anthony would disagree with me. We have different memories of how long it took, but usually 4 to 5 to apply in my memory, and then somewhere between 3 and 4 to take off. So wow. I was there for a very long time, but I wasn't actually on set like a ton.
So was it a situation where, like, by the time they called you about the librarian, did they already know that the other things that you had shot weren't going to be a part of it? Like, we weren't able to use this with the new direction we're taking, but we have this other part for you?
At the time, I don't know if they knew, because I found out because I emailed Nia, because I just had like a weird feeling and I didn't do ADR for that part. But yeah, when the way it was pitched to me was, hey, we loved you so much. We want to bring you back for this thing, this librarian thing. And at that time I was like, oh, so is this, I thought it was connected to my other part. So I was trying to put it all together and like try to make it really deep. And like,
oh yeah, I could imagine the theories. Yeah. That's really cool of them to make sure that you still got the screen time to some extent.
Oh my gosh. I cannot even tell you how grateful I am, because I mean, to get to work on that film in any capacity is such an honor. And then for them to make sure that they still included me on some level was just amazing.
Well, that speaks highly of you too, that like, that fool me once type of thing. You're not gonna, if you weren't a pleasure to work with, they could have found, they could have, held auditions, had somebody else come in to do that part. So the fact that they wanted you to come back, yeah, that's really cool. What was Nia DaCosta like to work with?
I mean, you guys, if you have like 6 hours, I could get into this.
Oh my!
I cannot even tell you how obsessed I am with her. I have listened to every interview, every podcast, she hosted like the technical Oscars or whatever that award show was. I watched that because she was hosting it. Like, she is the most well-rounded, brilliant, funny, just amazing director that I have ever worked with. Like, she was so focused and so steadfast, like I can't imagine the pressure of having that movie and then having 2 studios involved and Monkey Paw, Jordan Peele and all that stuff. And every time I got to talk to her, I was like, oh, such a good idea. Just brilliant. Like, and she's also, when she gives you direction, she's usually really funny. And she's also very collaborative and makes you feel safe enough. I thrive as an actor in environments where I feel like the energy is calm and I can explore and it's safe and it's not like, all right, we have 3 seconds before we lose the location. Do it. Like, and she let me try all kinds of different things. I almost daily have regrets about things I wish I would have improvised and like buttons that I would have done in the library scene because I got the lines like the day before. So I didn't really know what was happening. But like, even on the day that we shot the library scene, it didn't really make sense in the script how I would not see Yaya, like why I would miss him or whatever. And I was like, I brought it up to her because I'm now, using my voice. And and I was like, hey, I just don't understand this part of it. What if I drop something or what, so that I don't see him for a second. He has the time to get away. And then Ian Cooper from Monkey Paw, who I also love, such an amazing person, was like, I was just about to say that. And then Nia was like, cool, let's try it. And so it was just it almost just felt like friends shooting a little scene. You know what I mean? Like it was just.
I truly find that amazing. And the reason why I want to say that, because you actually answered the next question we're going to ask about shooting a library scene, but it actually segued into something I wanted to know. Traditionally, men, it's raining men rule Hollywood. They do everything. And now, and most people are like, most people would say you're not only just a female director, a female in Hollywood is already a minority, but you're dealing with an African-American female who's listening to you, who's working with people. Everybody's collaborating. What is it like truly, genuinely to see, hey, here is a female here. She will at least as a woman hear my voice and at least listen to me. It has to be different and show that Hollywood is not maybe Hollywood's changing, maybe the world's changing and say, hey, you're not going to treat me like an asshole on set. You're going to listen to my ideas and I'm an artist. How did that feel?
Well, it's definitely changing. She's the first Black woman to have a film open up #1 in the box office.
Very true. So speak to that, please. I mean, if you can, please speak to that.
I actually realized the other week that I've almost exclusively had female directors or female identifying directors in my career, which is just really weird and I think not common. But I feel like maybe it's just the universe, like, oh, she needs that because she has a hard time speaking up for herself. But she was wonderful to watch. And I feel like she's the type of person where you can see sort of her essence infused into all of her work. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Little Woods. Her energy and like just her vibes are in Candyman and in Little Woods, like the juxtaposition of the sunsets in Little Woods with the subject matter, and everything's always very grounded and understated and things that are funny and you're not trying too hard to make it funny. Like she's just, that is her doing that. And it's infused into everything. And even in Candyman, the color palette, even people who hate Candyman, by the way, are like, oh my, they're like, that movie's trash, but God, it was beautiful. And I feel like
so beautiful.
Yeah.
You can't deny that.
You would have thought there was never a murder committed in Chicago from those visuals. I'm like, God, those visuals, we'll talk about amazing, amazing.
Like the 70s flashbacks, that sort of marigold.
Yes. It was a matrixy. They took the color out, but it made you feel like you were there.
Yeah, and even the green that she used, like she wears those colors, and I have synesthesia a little bit, and like when I think about her, those are the colors I see. Like it's really weird. When I saw the movie, I was like, oh, this is I can feel her in it. Like it's just.
And she opens up the movie with the coolest juxtaposition ever. Like because the original movie is looking down on Chicago. And then she's doing these shots where it's like you're looking from like the gutter. Like
it was like Inception, but without all the acid. It was like, okay, there's something beautiful happening here. We don't have to fold the world in. Like it was beautiful. She
told you right from the opening credits, like everything that you know from the first Candyman is about to get flipped on its head, and we're gonna revisit it, and you're gonna see it in a completely different way. And
playing with her mirroring that shot
beautiful
specifically, and then using the mirrors the whole time in the movie, and then. I mean, her attention to detail is just unmatched. Like, I feel like she is constantly thinking about every single shot. Like,
well, I mean, there was I noticed some interesting parallels in you guys' like around 2009, 2010 is like the first time you're popping up on IMDb. You both come into Candyman with being your second feature film. That was interesting to me, but I thought it was like to be her second feature film as a director, and you're dealing with mirrors. Like everything has to revolve around reflection. Like that's
very hard.
That's like
it's
the crux
hard.
for like how do we get this shot mapped out with mirrors? And I appreciate when I can't wrap my head around how something was done, because then I could truly get lost in the imagination of what's happening. And she pulled that off in that movie, because I'm like, how I know I know what's at play here, but how it was actually constructed is just
I believe you just gave the definition of the word we call art. So before we move on from Candyman, I wanted to ask you this. Is there anything you would like to share with the fans or people that you can share non-NDA wise about your experience on set or with the film regarding Candyman that people may not know?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that Coleman Domingo is the nicest person ever. I don't know how, but I didn't know who he was before shooting that, which is embarrassing because now once I looked him up after like the day I met him, I was like, how do I not know who this guy is? But I guess he's such a character actor that he kind of just disappears in everything that he does. But yeah, like he and I had some long talks, and he's so kind and really, really like him. I think that it would be interesting for fans of the movie to know how much work went into just even the audition process for that movie. Like I have a lot of friends in the film. The guy who played Clive is my friend Brian, and then Heidi Engerman, who plays the ringleader teenager girl. We all shared audition stories back and forth, trying to like gauge if they were, similar. And almost everyone auditioned somewhere between 3 and 6 times, maybe more, because I think there were some additional chemistry reads. And then like even for the bathroom scene, with the girls, they shot a little mini version of it in the casting director's office bathroom with all the girls there in a chemistry read to just the amount of work and attention to detail, just like planning everything out. I don't know. I feel like if I were just a fan of it, I would want to know that, because I think that's pretty cool.
It shows in the movie too, because I can't think of a single person that wasn't like perfectly fit in the role that they were playing. And Clive was. I'm okay with being called a bitch.
Listen, preparation is everything, and let that be a lesson to everyone. Preparation definitely is everything.
You recently completed a short film, and when I say you, I mean you recently completed a short film called Born Bottled. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that film is based on a monologue that I wrote in, I think, 2017. My friend and I we were trying to write stuff for each other because, it's hard to get good material. And during the pandemic, I was like, what can I shoot where I don't need anyone and I can make it into a short film? And I retaped it just thinking like, oh, I'll just put this on my reel. But then the more I talked with my friend Jessica about it, we were like, okay, how can we turn this into more of a narrative? Let's shoot some additional footage to try to like insert stuff. And then we bought some footage for stuff we couldn't shoot because we couldn't get into a hospital. But yeah, it's based on this monologue that I wrote. And I was thinking a lot about it because during the pandemic, I was hearing about all these people who, couldn't visit relatives in the hospital. And obviously health was just, we were all, I don't know if you guys were, but like, I feel like I have PTSD from like the CNN sounds, like I was just like glued to the news and everything seemed so scary.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking like, wow, it's actually such a blessing to be able to go visit loved ones in the hospital and be able to get things off your chest or share last conversations. And these are things that we're no longer able to do that, we may have preferred not to do before, but now we appreciate it. And so, yeah, it was mostly just shot and created in order. I was just hoping people would, I was hoping it would resonate with people. I was hoping that people that dealt with addiction or had that in their family would feel seen. Yeah, I just wanted to connect with people, I guess.
Very nice. And you mentioned your friend Jessica. Is it Jessica Ridenour? Is that how you say your last name? Ridenour. Okay.
Yeah, Ridenour.
So you guys, right now, all right. So you guys co-directed this. You wrote, produced, shot, starred, edited, and you composed the music. So even for a 7-minute film, that's a lot of work. Did that come out of necessity because of like the time it was shot, or was that just like a conscious decision you made that you want to take on these things?
I think it was both. I mean, I think because it was so personal to me, I wanted to make sure I controlled every single aspect of it. And the song that we used, because like money's always a thing. I know it's so cliche when people use classical music because it's like, cool, it's 100 years old, so it's free. But I slowed down this song that I learned on the piano a long time ago. That I had a teacher that went to Juilliard, and she told me this story about how Chopin composed it as their friend had just died and was being wheeled out of a nursing home. And like, you can feel it so deeply. And to me, the song actually is more impactful if you slow it down. So we slowed it down a lot to kind of let the chords sink in and the pain sink in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it was mostly because the pandemic, we didn't even see each other. We even edited over Zoom.
The one thing I would say about this is that I've learned through the pandemic, and even our guy Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins, even he has a film coming out. One thing I've learned about it: the art is art. It doesn't matter whether you're in a pandemic, the 1400s,
Anthony
or
Hopkins has an NFT coming out. It's the first.
Oh, I don't want to hear about that. Don't do that. No, I'm not NFT.
Is it like a Silence of the Lambs NFT?
I have no. It's I saw it on Instagram. It's like Anthony Hopkins in the first non-fungible token film.
Silence of the Grams. That's what it is. The Instagrams.
I haven't even wrapped my head around what an NFT is. Now I got to figure out what an NFT movie is.
It's cool cryptocurrency. We're not going there today. With that being said, let me ask you this: as someone who clearly listen, I've asked you about being an actress and asked you to give inspiration to actors and actresses. Let me ask you this: being that you've done all the roles and you can give this expertise, what advice would you give to that aspiring filmmaker out there?
First, I want to not officially condone guerrilla shooting because I don't want anybody to get arrested. And I'm just saying, like, it's just hard sometimes, and you just got to do what you got to do. But it's not technically legal, I don't think. So, yeah. But I think I would suggest, I mean, if you can't be like a trust fund baby, then, because I feel like that's what I'm learning everyone is who kills it on the festival circuit. It's just like,
Hello.
But honestly, it's like, oh, okay, so you're like a Getty family member, and that's what this. So you just like make films, and nobody ever makes money, and you just keep doing it. Cool, okay.
Yeah. This is an independent film. Wait a second, isn't your uncle a Coppola? Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, well, and I have a friend, Akanksha. She did this film called Close Ties to Home Country, and she's definitely not a trust fund baby. She's like a brilliant, wonderful physicist that decided to transition into being a filmmaker, and her film is killing it. I mean, like Telluride, Aspen, like everything that you would ever want to get into, she's doing so well. But I'm learning through her how it's already so expensive to apply, but then having to fly to the festivals and all that stuff. I mean, I don't get how people do it, but
yeah.
But sorry, as far as useful advice, I would say, number one, sound. Really focus on your sound, pay for your sound. Definitely, I regret so much waiting around for someone to like discover me and listen to my ideas. I think that you have to write the parts and create the films that for the things you want to play. Like write the parts you want to play, write this dialogue you want to be able to say. No one else is going to do it for you. Most people are just thinking about themselves 24/7. And so there's no need to be scared to ask questions because they're going to forget by tomorrow. Like everything that you're afraid of is not a thing to be afraid of when it comes down to it. And I've had so many experiences with that. Even in the last year, like I shot a spot on 61st Street that also got cut, but it's a really cool show that Michael B. Jordan is doing. And there was a bit in it where like I had to, pour this guy water and do this thing and walk around this. And I made sure to clarify before we shot, like, okay, so which hand do you want it to the camera, the pouring hand? Because we have to do it. Because I know that if I don't ask these questions, I'm going to get yelled at for not having continuity or doing it wrong, 100 times. So I asked like 10 questions up front. I think it probably annoyed the director, but then it was over. And then we nailed it in 2 takes because I knew what I was doing. And I think you really have to do that as an actor and as a filmmaker. You have to stick to your guns, because I think it's so important that if something's going to fail, it has to be based on your vision. Whether or not somebody else thinks it's like, if it's going to fail, it better be because that was the decision you made and you're going to own your failure. You shouldn't make a change or a decision based on someone else's input. So then you have somebody else to blame if it goes wrong.
That's great advice.
Very true.
It's so true too. Like you can hold yourself accountable a lot easier if you like the projects where somebody is wearing the more hats. They're usually the ones that are like there's a personal touch to them. Is like everything is on the line for the filmmaker that is put this thing together.
I like to call it OYS. Own your shit.
It's the same way when you call
it's
like
not copyrighted. You can have that.
When you call you call a company for customer service, they always have that ability to compartmentalize everything so much that nobody has to take responsibility for any single thing. And when somebody is like doing everything,
they're more invested.
Yeah.
Such a good analogy. Yeah.
Born Bottled, I saw on your website that it's in festivals. Is it still in festivals right now?
Yeah, there are probably, I don't know. I really went overboard with the submissions in retrospect. I just didn't know. Yeah, there are a bunch that I still haven't heard from. I mean, it's like, compared to my friend Akanksha's film, Close Ties to Home Country, it's definitely on like the baby festival circuit. But yeah, it's still going around, and then I'll probably just figure out a way to distribute it for like $1 on whatever platform will let me. But yeah, it's still festivaling.
Very cool. Let's see. Okay. Also on your website, your bio, it had talked about how you're a longtime people watcher, almost utilized as a tool in crafting the characters that you play. And with all the short films, I'm just because you've been in a lot of short films, including Close Ties to Home Country, which you just brought up, Born Bottled, but going back to Framework in 2009, 2013 Short Break, 2015's Valerie and Happy Hour, 2017's Pizza Night, 2018's Kill the Light, and Guac and Sliders. You've positioned yourself to take on various characters, and I'm wondering if there's a particular character that stands out as the most rewarding for you to bring to life.
Probably the most rewarding, I mean, it's just is what I wrote and created, like the Alice character in Born Bottled, because it was, I think it's easier to, when you feel really connected to work because you wrote it, it's a little bit more rewarding when you see the final product.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And especially probably seeing people identify with a character that's so close to home is probably gratifying on a whole different level. When if somebody identifies with a character that somebody else wrote that you're bringing to life, there's a certain reward in that. But I've sat at premieres with characters that I wrote, and to watch an audience laugh at something that is my sense of humor, is me, it's it's validating on a whole other level.
Yeah, for sure.
I like to look at it that way. One thing I want to talk about is the fact, that's one perspective to look at it. Another way to look at it is this. Let me ask you this: has there ever been? This is what I call moral versus method. There are method actors, and there are moral actors. I like to consider myself a method actor with morals. So let me ask you this: is there one particular role where you were that you didn't create, that you had to play, that was very challenging? I
feel like I have so much to offer and so much to contribute that has not even remotely been tapped into. So I won't say that anything has been an insane challenge yet, because I feel I don't know, I'm just getting started, and I really would like the universe to bring me stuff that would be super difficult and interesting to tap into. But I think probably in Close Ties to Home Country, I played this character, India, who's is a pretty big stretch for me. I think not in terms of tone of my voice or what, like I have kind of bubbly energy sometimes, or a lot of times, but she's really out of touch. And like, I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm very empathetic. I'm very sensitive to other people's energy and energy in the room and feelings. And this character does not care. She is fully in her own world, narcissist, racist, but not like in super aggressive. She's just like out of touch.
That old school racism.
Yeah, old school. I like that. Old school racism. We call it old school racism. Like, yeah, I know you don't like me, but you don't want me dead. You just don't want to be with. You don't be around me. Old school racism. We missed that.
Yeah. Like she's fine having this dog walker in her house for that purpose, but like we don't need to talk about anything else. Like you're just here for the dog, and like I don't need to know that much about your life. Like I'll ask about your life, but then I'm not going to listen about it. Like,
how you doing today? Fuck you. Go.
She's that type of person, which was, it's harder to do, I think.
It's always challenging too when you don't feel like you're pulling something off believably, or it's too challenging or too far removed from who you are as a person to fully commit to a character when you said you're gonna share too much. Here I go. In the bedroom.
I've never heard this story.
You always.
Jesus Christ.
There's role playing. It's never been a thing for me because of this reason. It's like the other person knows that we're role playing. So I can't fully commit to this character because I know that the other person knows that I'm an imposter. It's the same thing with trying to like step into like when you try to have me play like these macho characters sometimes. Yeah, as in yesterday. I'm reprising the role of Debo from Friday.
This definitely did happen yesterday, but continue. Not in the bedroom, but please continue.
And it's so hard to get...
Because she's completely fucking lost right now. Let me go ahead and take over this fucking story. Because all my masculinity and coolness is went out the window. No, you're good, but I'm not.
I'll just wrap it up by saying it's extra hard to commit to a character that you're not feeling internally when you can sense that, like, if there's any sense that even if you're projecting this onto other people, that they're not believing what you're doing, that only makes it that much more difficult to disappear into this character that you're supposed to be.
But there's a flip side to that coin. You as a director and a writer and an editor, which he primarily is. I'm an actor and a director. I don't really write that much and definitely have retired from editing. But with that being said, you're the person that writes a story that I have to portray. And when I portray that story, who's really being vulnerable here? You're writing down your thoughts and I'm portraying them. So there's a flip side to that coin.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, but I get what you're saying. And I actually think that is reflective of a lot of the stuff that like Esther Perel and all those people talk about in respect to relationships too. Like it once you're dating a person and they know your like 9-year-old self and who like who you really are, it's a lot harder to, like than it is when you first meet someone to like, I'm not I'm not gonna dig myself a hole, but I'm just saying.
Don't do it. I'll call it the interview you. Hey, this is the interview me. You'll get to meet me later.
All right. It seems like you have a great respect for the craft of acting, staying in constant study from Chicago to London. What is the biggest benefit that you've experienced in training with these different workshops and academies? Like, are you pulling something different from each place, or are you just kind of like confirming what the foundational keys are?
I'm definitely a person who kind of pulls what works for me from everything that I do. Cause I don't know. A lot of people I know can do like one method and that works for them. But I think for me, the biggest change and first of all, I've learned the most from being on set and seeing really big actors mess up, because it was so freeing for me to be like, because I'm such a nerd and I'm such a perfectionist, and my whole life I've just had this, like you want to do it right on the first time, you want to be great, you want to please authority, and seeing people mess up, it's like, oh, it really, like, it is play. You can try things and you can fail as long as you trust like the director and editor you're working with, because you don't want them putting that in there. But like I think that has been the biggest thing that I've learned overall, because I was so scared before of just messing anything up or making a wrong choice. But if you don't try it, then you don't discover the fun stuff in the end. The whole, like, you know, advocating for yourself and speaking up is the most important thing if you're like me and you're scared of that. But even things, I don't know, RADA in London was just life. I felt like I was at Hogwarts. Like, everyone that taught was so whimsical in the way that they spoke and moved. And what we did in class felt like Hogwarts, like all the movement classes and the exercises we did. Something that has helped me practically speaking has been, we did a lot of exercises on status. So like if you're doing a scene, she would be like, okay, in this scene, you're a 10 and you're a 2, and then you reverse it and you see how the scene plays differently with the same lines. When your roles, when the status is inverted, it changes the way the scene plays out, which is fun to play with. And then from a memorization perspective, we did this thing where it sounds weird, but it works. It's like you go through the script. First of all, you never say it out loud as you're memorizing, and then you kind of mouth all the words as you're saying it. And whenever it says I, you physically touch yourself, like you point. And then if it's you like every object in whatever room you're in is like, this is, you know, my makeup brush is the person I'm talking to. My water bottle is the village that we're talking about. So anytime you reference it, it places it, it creates like a memory palace for when, and sort of a spatial awareness of the scene before you actually really work on it. Yeah. And it, for some reason, helps me remember. Okay. Also, subtext to me is everything. Like every time I have a script, I break down what I think you're really saying below, like just do a line down and write what it is. And that helps so much, because it's then, you really know what you're feeling and saying and you're making it your own. So you're making like a choice. So you're not doing the same thing everybody else is.
I just felt like every 13-year-old girl that wants to be an actress just heard what you just said. Like, I'll just model. I don't want to get that deep into it, but I love what you're saying. But
it's the most practical, like,
an honest answer
that we've received. If somebody could, like, they could listen to this and apply, like, as soon
real world. I promise you, you're giving us the most. Listen,
a lot of the time it's plaques, like, you know, just
try hard,
give it everything you
never
got.
Give up, give it your best. You're gonna fail. Like, but no, this is really good. Yes,
and I love that you, like, even as, because like you could have easily gotten a few jobs and be like, okay, I made it, I'm good. But I think it's so cool that you stay in training, like always trying to improve on what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a perpetual student and nerd. Like, I think all I'm ever doing is like reading or listening to podcasts or.
And you also do sketch comedy and improv. You mentioned Second City. We only have to like list all the greats that come out of Second City. What's it like working in that environment and doing improv and sketch comedy?
I haven't done it as much because of the pandemic. So like I used to do a lot more improv, a lot of late night, like we're going on at 11, you know. That for me was really rewarding, again, because of just the abject failure that like it happens with improv. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen. Sometimes it's an amazing show. Sometimes it is miserable. And you realize at the end of the miserable shows that it was a really great bonding experience and you didn't die. And it's almost fun in a way. It's like you bond over how bad it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard if you don't try, you don't fly. Like, I mean, you got to do it.
Well, and again, going back to Norm Macdonald, he said something brilliant. It's like comedy is all about surprises. And when you do comedy, you're trying to make people laugh. So when people don't laugh, that's like the greatest surprise. And you've succeeded.
Not for me. So let me ask you this. As we wrap up, pop quiz hot shot. You're locked in the room for 1 year. Out of all the movies you've seen since, I guess, year one, what movie do you take with you and watch?
Okay, I feel like I'm always bad at these questions, because it stresses me out that there are so many movies in the world that I won't be able to see by the time I die already. So like the idea of just choosing one is just like, ugh.
We're not gonna. This isn't contractual or.
Well, no,
anything.
not when you die. Up until this
See,
very
is how
moment.
uptight I am. I'm doing
Yes, up until this very moment. Not a film that will come out. Any film that you've seen from year one till now.
And this is
what would you take?
And this is hypothetical.
Yes, well, not for me. It's not. But go ahead.
Okay. Can I mention several because I like, for example, last night I watched Hard 8 for the first time, which is embarrassing that I'm admitting that, but I just hadn't ever seen it before, and everyone always talks about it. And I feel like there are so many shots that I need to study and analyze in that movie, like because I like it was too much and I missed so much. So that's the first thing that's popping into my head right now. But then I'm like, I don't think I would really want to watch that for the rest of my life. As a kid, for some reason, I don't know why, my mom would always like I'm not a person who likes to watch movies again and again unless I'm studying them for filmmaking. But for some reason, as a kid, I really liked Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, both of which are like British.
No problem.
Except, I mean, I guess what's his name? Is it Dick Van Dyke that's in?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, they're very random, and I don't know why my mom felt compelled to play them for me, but that's like my entire childhood, those two movies.
Wow. Well, just for reference here, his mom said his movie was Nightmare on Elm Street, and my mom said mine was Beetlejuice. So I don't know what the fuck that means to either one of us.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, she said I would say it in my sleep. I would be saying Beetlejuice. I'm like, stop saying that. You're embarrassing me.
Oh my God.
You only have to say his name 3 times.
Unlike Candyman. Boom.
Are you guys big horror people?
He is. I'm not.
I'm not really a.
You
I'm
are.
not
You're
really
a
fan
horror.
of. No,
Yeah,
I was just talking to somebody in a group about this on Facebook, a horror movie group, and I just, even as a kid, horror movies to me were just like, I appreciate the imagination that goes into them, like more so than drama, romance, comedy, horror movie, and I don't really get by into sci-fi because it's just, I'm not that big of a nerd. Horror though is like, it's like imagination run wild. And if somebody was asking, like, I have an 8-year-old daughter, what should I show them? I was like, The Gate, Stephen Dorff, The Gate. That's a little graphic. I'm like, it's an opportunity. You explain the art form, maybe get some Karo syrup, some red food coloring, show them how the blood is made. I showed my daughter interviews with Robert Englund, getting the makeup and prosthetics put on so you can appreciate like the work that goes into a horror film. I always I like the imagination of that. I've had one nightmare about Freddy Krueger in my entire life, but other than that, he brought me nothing but joy. There's a picture somewhere floating out there. I was in.
You are freaking these nerds out.
Oh,
right?
imagine
Me and her. You're freaking us out, right? I'm just telling you that right now.
You feel like the kids in my 4th grade class on Halloween. You got frog, fairy, prince, princess, superhero, and then me standing there in a Freddy Krueger outfit, like 10 years old. It's too big for me because they don't make them for kids. So they had to hem the pants, and I got this big ass glove on. Yeah, it was
Remind me to call your mom after we finish this.
I'm not like a horror movie fanatic though. I like the worlds that get created in a horror film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's impressive.
You're in 2 upcoming films currently in post-production, Deep Woods and
The Book of Leah? Leah or Leia?
Leah.
Yeah.
Leah. Okay. Can you tell us about those projects?
Deep Woods, I just saw, I actually shot it like a week after we wrapped Candyman. Or no, sorry, not a week, a day. I remember because I was late. Because I was very tired. And it was in Milwaukee. I wasn't that late. Not like, it was like 20 minutes. You can cut all that. I don't know why I just went on.
Oh, no, that's great because that's right on time you were early as far as he's concerned.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not even it's not a black thing. It's a youth.
I didn't say it was a black thing.
Yes, you insinuated.
I did not. I'm an actor. I did not insinuate.
All right,
your sad card is out of here, man.
You know the history here. You know
what history? Oh my, 1921. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we might cut that.
Yeah. So yeah, the Deep Woods is so beautiful. It was made by this guy who he was like a big time advertising executive for I don't know how many years, and I think this was kind of his big passion project. So obviously, it is visually stunning. stunning. I mean, like the cinematography is unreal. And he got this guy, Jalone Vanover, who's such a talented actor, to play the lead. And then Eddie, who plays, he's the other main character in the film, was amazing. The film is beautiful. I was genuinely shocked. Like, I've done a lot of independent movies that you see and you're like, ooh. And it blew me away. Like he really took his time with the story and with the additional shots that he got. Like he did a lot of, additional like B-roll stuff that just adds so much to it. And then he has this shot with the moon in the background that is insane. And the story flows. Like it's not like a normal first time filmmaker film. Like it just is good. And I think they're working on just getting distribution. I don't think they're going to submit to festivals. I think they just want to get it on a streaming platform. But I would highly recommend it. It's called Deep Woods. It's so good. I just watched it. And I just have a tiny part in it. And then the Book of Leah, I have no idea what's happening with. We shot that in 2017, I want to say. And
okay.
I don't know.
We'll wait for that to see what happens from that. Before we let you go, and first off, if we don't say this again, thank you so much for your time, because with everything going on in the world, if anybody takes 2 seconds to talk to us, we appreciate it. But before we let you go, we must ask this. You get to choose from a quote, a song, or a message. You can say whatever you want. What are your parting words with your and our audience? Anything you would like to say?
This is kind of dark, but...
Well...
Oh, yes.
Wait a minute. Oh, you're acting like him now. What the fuck is going on? I'm fucking with you.
I think about this daily. I mean, I honestly, I've been worried about dying since I was like 5. So this is not even a cancer related thing. This is just a me thing. But yeah, if I were going to impart wisdom to people, I would just say, we're all going to die. We have no idea when. So do the thing you want to do. Say what you want to say. Make the art you want to make. And more importantly, I think you should laugh as much as possible. To me, comedy is my number one priority in life. Like I think so much material is mined from really dark times in your life. Like the things that are funny in dark times in your life are the funniest things.
Tragedy plus time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and yeah, I think to me, laughing is the most important thing. So.
Amazing.
I will take your advice and do what I want to do. And
you did not need her advice. Don't use her as a reason to do what you've been doing.
But what I want to do is to continue fixating on death and all the things that could possibly kill me.
Let me know before you die, please.
Yeah. I'm terrified. Somebody has like, hey, you want to go out on Wednesday night? I'm like, all right, what could kill me out there?
Cassandra, ma'am, you are the real deal. I generally want to tell you this. We've interviewed over 50 people by now, if minimum 50. We interviewed so many people, but you are the genuine. Like most people say this wasn't an interview. This was a conversation. I wish you nothing but the best, and I want to see you at the top.
Oh, same to you guys. Thank you.
So buy this medication that keeps your dick hard for, let's face it, an amount of time that's uncomfortable for everyone involved. But that's not the point, is it?